Well, good morning, everybody. It's still morning, right? Yeah, good morning, everybody. So, as you know, I am Rita Williams, and I'm working with the Census Bureau for the 2020 Decennial Census. And before I go through the slideshow, I do want to make sure that I have to say this is very important that we are counted in the Decennial Census. Even before we vote, the Decennial Census is so very important because those numbers last for 10 years. That is a number that's on the records for 10 years. And every year, the government gives away $675 billion according to the population that was taken during the decennial census. Now, the Census Bureau is always working year-round. They have all kinds of surveys going on all year long. But the decennial census is only every 10 years. And the numbers, the amount of funding that each state will get for all the communities in that state depend upon the numbers that we turn in from the decennial census. And this year, of course, the numbers will be turned in to the president December 31st, 2020. So now we are preparing, we're going to every community, all ethnicities, to let them know that, why it's important to be counted. And we're reaching out to the trusted voices in the communities, because let's be honest, people don't trust the government. There are many reasons why, and I understand. So that's why we have to reach out to people in the community like you all to help get the word out about how important it is to be counted. During the 2010 census, the largest population that was undercounted was the children ages 5 and younger. That's the largest population that was undercounted by a little more than 1 million. And for 10 years, those babies grow up and they're using these services for those 10 years. But we're not getting any more funding because we've gotten what we're going to get for the next 10 years, according to the decennial number. So it's extremely important to be counted. So why do we do the census? Of course, it is mandated by Congress that every 10 years we count every person living in the U.S. Not every resident, not every citizen. Count every person living in the U.S. every 10 years. All right, so, yes. Rita
Williams at.
No, Rita.S. Williams at 2020 Census.gov. Please, .gov, not .com. All right, so now, as you can see here, as I said before, the apportionment representation among states. So that's how the congressional lines are drawn. That's how we know how many seats we'll get, for the next congressional time. So that is very important and here, I say right here, $675 billion every year is given away by the government according to the numbers that we turn in from the decennial census. As you can see, during the 2010 census, Texas gained 4 seats, 4 congressional seats. And you see the states that lost seats because of their 2010 decennial numbers. So it's very important, how many, representation plus the dollars.
We were able to get Mark Beasley.
Right. And these are key census dates. January 2019, we started, the early area census office opened. Some of the office opened June through September. Remaining area offices began to open in August. Address canvassing began. So you may see some people from the Census Bureau in the streets right now. They're doing what's called address canvassing. That's just making sure that all the addresses we have on the list are still there. During because some of the storms, some houses may not be there right now. Some businesses may not be there now. So they're just confirming the addresses that we have on the list. April 1st is what's considered Census Day. Now, prior to April 1st, there will be it's like a little postcard almost. It will go out to all addresses, inviting people to respond to the survey. The survey is short this year, only 10 questions. So at that time, you can go online or whatever to respond. And you'll see a little bit later, there are 4 different ways this time that we can respond. December 31st, as I mentioned before, that's when the Census Bureau delivers apportionment counts to the president. Now, the only thing that the president gets, he does not get detailed information. He gets only statistical information. And we'll go through that in a second too. All right. The census is confidential, protected by Title 13. And I know that's one of the main things, especially in this area, that people are concerned about. Hold on a second. How you doing? Come on in. Come on in. That's one of the main things that people, especially in this area, are concerned with. They don't want people knowing where they live. They don't want everybody knowing their name, their birthday, and all that kind of stuff, because they don't want to be turned in. Let's be honest, I may have gotten a ticket, hadn't paid a check, might have a warrant, don't want the popo coming to my door. Also, one of the reasons we don't get counted is because, especially with rental neighborhoods, I have 4 people on my lease, but I actually have 6 people living in my apartment, or things like that. I may be babysitting, but I'm not state licensed to babysit. You know, I might be babysitting 6 kids because I need the money, but the state didn't tell me I can, and I don't want to go to jail, and I don't want people snitching on me. So there are a lot of different reasons why we don't get counted. But the main thing we have to know is that all of the responses are protected by Title 13. So even if someone from the Census Bureau comes to the door, knocks on the door, and if they even know that something is going on illegal, we still cannot report it. Okay, we have taken an oath. We are bound by life with that oath. So if we report it, we go to jail, not them. So it is protected, and it's on that information that they give to us from the survey. It is protected. It's on lockdown for 72 years. So like now, when people go to ancestry.com and things like that, they can find their relatives from at least 72 years ago. But information that they have right now is, we don't turn that in. We turn in only statistical information. Okay, now why we ask? The main thing is that, of course, we ask the following questions: the number of people living or staying in the house, any additional people living or staying, the name, whether somebody lives there or stays somewhere else, and phone number, just in case we have to, call you and question you about your form. But you don't have to put the phone number on there. That's an option. Also, while we ask number 2, so once again, these are the type of questions we ask. We don't ask for social security numbers. We don't ask if you're a citizen. We don't ask if you have a green card. We don't ask any of those things, okay? It's very statistical information. Regardless of your information is collected for statistical purposes only. And your personally identifiable information is protected by Title 13. So all information that we collect is protected. We don't share the information with any agency, immigration, landlady, police department. In fact, someone asked at one of my different meetings, is when we send enumerators to go out into areas that are considered dangerous, do we send officers with them? The answer is no. Now, we may send them in groups, but we do not send law enforcement agencies, because we are bound by, like I said, we are bound by confidentiality. Officers are not. So we cannot tell what's going on in any area that we go into, so we cannot take officers with us. Now, this year, for the first time ever for the decennial census, there are 4 ways to respond. You can do it on the internet. So once you get the card in the mail, you can go online. There's a barcode on it. Just type that barcode in and answer the questions online. You can respond by phone. You can respond by mail. And if you have to respond any of those ways, there'll be someone, the enumerators will come door to door, knock on the door, with the same survey that you'll see online. And it is available in 13 languages outside of English. Now, this is a map, and this is a large area. And as you can see, the shades, the darker the shade, that's the hardest it was to count. And so that's why sometimes you see within the same city, or sometimes even within the same school district, you'll see some schools, you'll have to share a textbook, but the other school, they'll have iPads. And it's not because of the school district, it's because the people in that area filled out the survey. They were counted. So they get most of the money. The money goes to the areas that are counted. This is a sample this is 75237. So as you can see, most of the area is shaded in blue. These areas that are light, those are the ones that responded. So that's where the money goes to, the federal dollars. And the federal dollars, it includes, and you see I posted some information on the side, the population for 75237, the, sorry.
That's the mall area, y'all.
So the 3 and 4 school enrolled children here not graduated from high school, 96%. Not graduated from high school. No health insurance, that's 19%. No health insurance age 19 through 64. It didn't have that up, but 29.73, I'm sorry. So it just goes on and on. Non-Hispanic Black, 83.92%. Hispanic, 8.08%. Non-Hispanic White, 3.04%. Total population for 75237, according to the 2010 census, 3,588. The median household income, 24,000. Below poverty level, 36.29%. And the children under 18 living in poverty, that goes up 41.23%. So once again, this is just according to the 2010 census. But as you can see, there's more blue on this map than any other color. And that's why we have to, some way, somehow, that's why we're reaching out to the people in the community. We have to let them know that the reason we, every single year, we have to keep begging and begging and begging for this is because we don't get the money in because our people are not counted during the decennial census. So no matter what we tell the government we need, all they're going to do is look at the numbers. And they're like, well, no, they ain't got no people, they don't have enough people in there to, for us to give this much money to. So if we're all counted, then that justifies why we need more money in these areas, in these communities. All of the recreation centers, the schools, the lunch programs, children health programs, everything that we do that requires federal funding comes from the 2020, the decennial census. And I would like to see this map change.
Let me ask you this now. You talked about specific zip code areas, but in terms of how much federal dollars, let's take like EISD because a lot of zip codes.
Correct.
So now, are you saying that resources are appropriated depending on the zip codes, or
Not the zip code.
do they take a cumulative?
So
In other words, like you gave the example of the laptops versus.
Right. So the federal dollars goes to the census tracts. It's appropriated according to the census tracts. Now, because that's where the districts get their information from the Census Bureau, from the 2020 census. And so thereby, they see how many people are counted in each area, and that's where the federal dollars go.
So the districts divide up the federal dollars they get based on the numbers in
The numbers that are counted, yes ma'am. Yes ma'am. And right, and you're right, some of the census tracts do lap over zip codes and everything.
Dallas may have, they were counted very well, whereas Oak Cliff might not have been.
Correct.
So there would be more federal dollars for
Going
that
to-
census tract,
yes.
not DISD.
Correct.
It would not be equal.
True.
Because
Yes.
see, DISD has this executive office now.
That's correct. Yeah, and that's why for so many years we have to use that Robin Hood law,
Yeah.
because in DISD, because they get more dollars than we do. And
Can you
it's,
share this presentation with us if we did?
yes ma'am, absolutely. I will do that. All right, so now this is one of the resources that we use, and I'll make sure I put this in my presentation because I want you all to know this is where we get all the information. www.2020census.gov has all the information you need, and I know a lot of the people in the other areas that I've been to, they already know the information. They know it before I even come to them. They know those numbers. But I know in our area, we don't really know those numbers because we're thinking that these numbers are, I don't know, specific or the numbers are confidential, but it's not. It's public information, www.2020census.gov. Or really, if you want to see any other numbers coming from decennial censuses from back then or the American Community Survey, which happens all year long, you just type in www.census.gov and you get all the information you need.
So that's when Councilman Thomas and them were saying that you can't get a grocery store, because based upon what you're saying, I'm hearing a lot.
There's not enough people. So now we know, and I'll give another example. We know that there's approximately 500,000 people living in Oak Cliff, just Oak Cliff. But if you look at the census numbers, it's probably about 325,000 people living in all of Oak Cliff. And that's because we didn't count. We didn't count. Also, we're hiring right now. This is the largest peacetime operation outside of the military in the U.S. And we are hiring about 500,000 people nationwide to do this count. And when the Census Bureau hires, they hire you according to the area you live in. So they're not going to hire you to work in an area in North Dallas or anything like that, because they want people to be comfortable. They want the community to be comfortable with the people who are working for the Census Bureau. So, for example, they hired me to work in this area because they don't want them, they know that the community is not going to respond to somebody who they don't trust, they don't know, they've never seen, you know. So they want to make sure they're hired, but they are hiring. And in this area, the salary is ranges between $18.50 and $21.50 per hour for enumerators and clerks. So the enumerators, those are the ones who go out and knock door to door, and the clerks are the ones who work in the office, just making copies and, you know, office
I was
codes.
told that we have plenty of people from this area to work and not active.
In this area? Okay, I haven't been told that yet, but okay. I would suggest.
It's true, I'm just telling what the Census Bureau told me.
Okay, well, I would suggest that everybody would go ahead and apply anyway, because people lose jobs all the time. They'll need to replace them, like if they lose some employees, they'll need to replace them
They were just
quickly.
comparing it with, like they said, when they had plenty of people to work in South Dallas.
I know my boss told me that we had a conference call Friday, and we were told that we're behind on recruiting. We're very, very behind on recruiting. That's what I was told. We told that on the so they have recruiting assistants, but they asked, I'm a partnership specialist, and they asked us to assist the recruiting assistants with recruiting because they are so far behind on the recruiting numbers. Now, I don't know exactly.
Who is your boss?
Her name is Jennifer Polk. Yeah, and so she had and there's 20 of us just in this area, 20 partnership specialists in this area, and she told all of us we need to help.
I talked to his name is John White.
Okay, he's a recruiting. Okay,
Down in with Howard.
Okay.
And,
okay. Okay, so Jerome Garza, he's over all of the partnership specialists for the region, and Dallas is in the Denver region, just in case you didn't know. But he's in charge of all of them. He said the same thing, that our region is behind.
so Dallas is part of the half of the region in Dallas.
We're part of the Dallas region. I mean the Denver region. Now we do have a regional census office for this operation,
In Arlington.
and it's in Irving.
Irving.
But each city will have the local office, or what they call the area census office, the ACOs, area census office. There'll be the closest ones to here. There'll be one in Duncanville. There's one in Farmers Branch. There'll be two in Dallas. I have a list of the addresses, but I don't know them by memory.
And when are they going to start canvassing? What do you call them?
The enumerators.
Enumerators.
So that'll be after people have had a chance to respond online and over the phone.
And that'll be in January.
So that'll be after April.
Oh, they won't go door to door till after April.
Yeah, but they'll be working in the office until then. Then they'll be getting training and all those things, and then they'll go hit the streets. So you know, after I guess around March, that's when the cards will go out, and people have an opportunity to respond. National Census Day is April 1st, and so shortly after April 1st, they're going to start sending the enumerators to the streets to knock on all the doors where they haven't had a response yet. All right, so any other questions? I don't mind the hard questions, I think so.
I would like the name and email addresses for those people to get the region.
Okay,
Can I get it online?
yes,
Can I get it online?
you can get it online, but I also, did you write your email address down when you were signing?
But I'll
Okay.
get it forward.
Okay,
Make sure everybody signed in. Now, one of the things, I'm glad Molly, we fussed about the regional, about the census office being in Irving, right? That where you because we wanted it in Dallas. And I called Washington, I think CW and I, we called Washington to ask, how can you have a Dallas office in Irving? I was told that because it's transportation-wise. And then we argued again because we didn't want the census office in Duncanville. Now why? There's no transportation in Duncanville. That means people who are looking for jobs and want to get paid $18 to $22 an hour can't go over there unless you have a car. So there's a lot of things that we were ahead of, but it wasn't enough elected officials. I called Congresswoman Johnson, but she wasn't aware of it. And I called Mark Beasy, he wasn't aware of it, because we tried to stop them from opening their office in Irving, because we wanted the Dallas office. They said they couldn't find a spot, and by that time it was too late. In fact, we tried to get the census office here at the mall, and the person prior to coming said he tried, but there was no response. So again, it goes back to all the things that Ms. Williams was saying. We have to get involved. This is what Mother and I talked about too at that meeting. We have to make things happen, not let things happen. We can go on to the same thing and say, well, like today, they started talking last week, the police organization said, well, it's the riots and all this. See, we can't put things out like that. And I was very upset. I sent him an email. I said, what makes you think the verdict gonna come down on this young lady and we're gonna have to go to the street? See, we have to send our own message to all. And the message we said today is we got to be counted. You know, one of the things that I tell people, and this is our philosophy, I don't help anybody if you don't vote. I want to see a voting card. Molly, we have to put that in place. We have to say, if you don't vote, I can't help you. We got to stop carrying people. Because if we carry them, this is what happens. We got blue spots and all of what she's saying. And when Brother and I were at the police thing, the same thing happened. We know the worst zip code we have is 75216. We have to get in there. We have to change that image. We got to clean it up.
Yeah, right. And everything she said is correct. The only reason we have to, in these areas, we have to continue to have our hands out is because we won't be counted in the beginning. A lot of times, we don't want to wait until things happen and then say, well, we need to correct this and correct that and correct this. We want to do it ahead of time so we don't have to correct it. Once these numbers go in, that's it for 10 years. For 10 years. And no matter who protests, no matter what they say, it won't change for 10 years. There are a lot of things that our elected officials will say to pacify us so that we won't be so upset, but it won't change for 10 years. These numbers are good for 10 years. So we have to reach out to our trusted voices in the community, like you all, to make sure that everybody is counted. Every person is counted, all ages, all ethnicities, no matter whether, I mean, we have some people now, even today, going to some of the retirement centers and where you have some disabled people live, like there's an autism learning center in Dallas, and a lot of people live there, but they have to be counted as well. And we just want to make sure that everyone, we've been reaching out to the churches. I'm going to True Lee Baptist Church later this week. But we want everybody to be counted. I would like to know that when I go out here in the streets that the work is not in vain. So when I see the map again, I don't want to see all that blue, all that blue on the map. I want to see that map. I want to see the color change. Because that lets me know that, yes, I reached out to the right people, and they got the word out. And I mean, all the churches, if you're a member of a church and you'd like me to come to your church, I'll come. If you're a member of another organization and you'd like me to come and speak to them and let them know why it's important, I'll come. If you want to have an event, I will say this, we will have a recruiting, the National Recruiting Week for the entire Census Bureau, all nationwide, is the week of October 21st. So I'd like to have at least 2 recruiting events that week. And so if you all have an idea of where we can do those, that's fine.
Recruiting for
recruiting like for hiring and just letting everybody know we'll have jobs available. Because as I said before, that's why they told us we're very behind. So they want each
and I'm getting conflict of customers.
they want each partnership specialist to have at least 2 recruiting events that week.
What is the strategy, the strategy to reach the under 5 HTC population?
Well, as I mentioned to you before, we're reaching out to all of the daycare centers, all of the schools, WIC, the nutrition organizations, the homeless organizations, and it's really up to Now, and the churches as well, because they're a really big resource for children, because, you know, a lot of the parents go to church. And I believe that sometimes, a lot of the reason why the babies weren't counted is because they just didn't think of it. Like, they figured that if you want to know how many people live here, they're counting adults. But, right, so they just really didn't think how important that was. But even the newborns, you know, in 10 years, that newborn's going to be 10 years old, but they would have used the resources, the schools and school books and the lunch programs, and they would have used all of those resources as well. So we're reaching out to them to let them know, hey, last 10 years, in 2010, this population was extremely undercounted, and we don't want that to happen again.
And you know, you have so many, as you mentioned before, private homes that care for children.
Right,
Like,
right.
they'll care for 3, 4, 5 little kids in their home, but they're not licensed.
Correct. And we just need to make sure they know you won't be in trouble. This cannot go to the police office. We can't report you. We can't report anything that's going on here. The only thing we want to make sure is that you get some funding in this area. And if we have some funding in those areas, then if there's money there, then the people don't have to worry so much about robbing Peter to pay Paul. You know, do I pay my light bill, or do I pay my water bill, or do I feed the kids? You know, things like that.
And I think that's a big problem, is educating.
Yes.
Because so many people don't really know
Right.
how counting for the census
Yes, ma'am.
will affect their lives
Exactly.
and their neighbors'
Personally, it
families'
affects
lives.
each
They
person.
don't
Yeah.
realize, you know, it's like, especially African Americans, we tend to realize after.
Yes.
We react to stuff.
We hide a lot.
After we go and can't get food stamps.
Yeah, we hide a lot.
After we go, yeah, hood, you know, we
Yeah.
don't realize that all that backtracks to the census count.
Yes.
But
Hey everyone, Councilmember Casey Thomas, and I'm the chair of the Mayor's Complete Count Committee for the Census, and it's very important that everyone, when the time comes, completes the census. Every federal dollar that we get in the city of Dallas is dependent upon how many people are counted. And so our goal is to make sure everyone on April 1st, as long as you're breathing, birth to barely breathing, as long as you're breathing, that you complete the census. Everyone counts, especially you.
That's right. I'm Rita Williams, Partnership Specialist with the U.S. Census Bureau, and what he said is right. Everyone needs to be counted. $675 billion every single year is given away according to the decennial census. So 2020, everyone is counted.